The Seahawks got their guy. Mike Macdonald, the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, is expected to be named the next head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. That is according to ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter. Welcome into this breaking news edition of Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Let's begin with the tweet from Schefty. Schefty saying the following: a youth movement in Seattle. Seahawks are expected to hire Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their new head coach, league sources tell ESPN. They're still finalizing the deal, but Seattle has its man at 36. Macdonald now becomes the NFL's youngest head coach. Now, the scene was set up for this morning, as there was an interview yesterday with Macdonald in Baltimore, and then Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network tweeted out first thing this morning saying the Seahawks are bringing in Ravens DC Mike Macdonald today for a second interview for their head coaching job per sources. Seattle met with Macdonald 36 on Tuesday in Baltimore. Now he's going through the expanded process they did with other candidates. They brought him up to Seattle. Now they're finalizing the little things to get this deal done and make him the next Seahawks head coach. So, who is Mike Macdonald? Some of you may be asking. Well, he's been the Ravens defensive coordinator for the last 2 seasons. Prior to that, he worked with the other Harbaugh, Jim, in Michigan as their DC, and he helped usher in the best defense in the entire National Football League this year. The Ravens were the number 1 defense this past season. They went to the AFC Championship game, helped develop some players like Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Justin Matabuke, just to name a few. And although the favorite from the beginning of this process was Dan Quinn, I got to give credit to John Schneider for taking a chance with an outside-the-box gamble of some sorts. It would have been the easy call if the Seahawks would have said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and roll with a guy like Dan Quinn, somebody we know and somebody we're familiar with. But instead, what we see here is the Seahawks say, you know what, let's go with the young guy that's the up-and-comer that everybody's talking about, that everybody's optimistic with, but just needs that chance. This is a young, rising star in the coaching ranks, and the Seahawks got him before anyone else. Now, you may be wondering, what do people say about Mike Macdonald? Well, everything we've read around the circles of the National Football League, from different players to different coaches, the praise is off the charts about Mike Macdonald. Let's start with John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, who he served under for 2 seasons, said this a while back about Mike Macdonald. I thought he's been great since the first day he got here. He was very clear in terms of what we were trying to accomplish with our defense, in terms of building a certain vision, a certain scheme set in our structure, and teaching the guys and training the guys how to do it. Mark Richt, the former Georgia and University of Miami head coach Mike Macdonald served under as a grad assistant at Georgia, said this about Mike Macdonald. He had showed such a good work ethic as a sharp guy when the graduate assistantship came open. After he graduated, he got it. He just did a great job in every opportunity he got. For him to take the path that he's taken really is pretty special. But it happened because he was a worker. It happened because he was a smart guy, and he was adding value to the program. Now, how about some of the players that he's coached in Baltimore? Kyle Hamilton had a breakout season this year as an All-Pro selection with the Baltimore Ravens, and Hamilton said this recently: Macdonald deserves everything that's coming his way. If that is a head coach somewhere, then we're all super proud of him. I think everybody has their own journey, own time in this league, and he's a hot name in this league right now, and deservingly so. He's done a great job. Patrick Queen, a Pro Bowl selection this year, said the following: I think Mike Macdonald's the best head coaching candidate out there right now. I don't think anybody does it like him. Nobody cares like him. Nobody will do what he does. He will not rest until he has everything right. Players and mentors are just simply raving about Mike Macdonald and what he brings to the table. And whether it's his football knowledge, his high football IQ, dating back to the days when he was even coaching high school football and expanding a high school playbook beyond 8 plays, to what he's done now with player development and the energy he brings to the table. He's been dubbed the defensive Sean McVay. When you talk age, when you talk football knowledge, and the charisma, it is all there with Mike Macdonald. This is a home run hire for the Seattle Seahawks. What is your one-word reaction to Seattle hiring Mike Macdonald as their next head coach? My one word is hell yeah. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go a little hyphenated word there. Hell yeah, brother. That's my one word. Give me your one-word reaction in the comments section below. Folks, when the Seahawks make a move, we break it all down. We have some awesome stuff ahead over the next couple of weeks here on the channel as we'll talk about this coaching search, what's next with the offensive and coordinator positions and filling the staff. We'll talk plenty of trades, free agency, draft, coverage, and more. Join us now here on Seahawks Today. Join the Mike Macdonald era of Seahawks football and help us reach our next milestone, 49,000 subscribers. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. For me, when I look at this hire of what it means for Seattle, it tells me that the Seahawks are going forward with the reemergence of getting the defense right. We all think about the days of the Legion and wanting to get back to those said days, right? And the Seahawks, there was a lot of pressure from folks to say, hey, go get an offensive head coach. That's the way the NFL is going. But the Seahawks, this is a team that still built their identity on their defense. And they are trying to get this defense right to get back to that championship caliber of defense. You look at the statistics this past year from the Seahawks defense, and they left a lot to be desired in the bottom half of about every major category this past season with talent that should have done otherwise. They were a lot more talented than what their numbers indicated. Now, you look, comparably speaking, to what Mike Macdonald did in Baltimore this past year, and they were number one in opponents' points per game, number one in touchdowns, second in red zone scoring, fifth in opponents' yards per game. The Ravens defense, they did everything right for the most part this year. And even back to the AFC Championship game, you held Patrick Mahomes and company to 17 points. It wasn't the defense of why the Ravens lost to Kansas City in the AFC title game just a couple days ago. And here's the thing. We talk about talent development and what we saw Mike Macdonald do to develop guys like Patrick Queen and Justin Matabuke and Roquan Smith and others. There's a golden opportunity with this Seahawks team. When you look at the young talent that's on this roster here, Devin Witherspoon, just 23. Rick Woolen, 24. Boye Mafe, 24. Jordan Brooks, 26. Derek Hall, 22. Uchenna Nwosu, still a young guy. He and Draymond Jones as well at 27. Leonard Williams at 29 here. This Seahawks team is very close to competing towards the top. Second straight season at 9-8, but the reason why Pete Carroll is not the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks right now is that they underachieved. They had the same record that they did a year ago and missed the postseason with a much better roster. Now another offseason to retool this thing, a new head coach, a new coaching staff. You have a golden opportunity ahead of you here to really get this thing right and get this team on track to where they need to go, because last season simply wasn't good enough. And now you look at the decisions that are ahead for this Seahawks team. You have some choices to make. What do you do about Geno Smith at the quarterback position? Does Geno come back as your quarterback, or does he get moved? Do you draft a young quarterback? Do you bring in a veteran? What do you do about Tyler Lockett? Tyler Lockett's going to command $16+ million this next year, and the Seahawks don't have a ton of cap space to afford Tyler Lockett at the moment for his future. Does he take a restructured deal? Do you trade him? And then you look at the draft picks. You have a first-round pick, a 16 overall. You still have your first-round picks for the next couple of years as well. What do you do to potentially make a move to get this roster right? Now, another thing to keep in mind, one thing that we've said, a consistent theme on this show over the last few weeks was I was more than okay with hiring a defensive-minded head coach if the offensive coordinator hire you got right. In the offensive coordinator hire now, what Mike Macdonald and John Schneider and company do to find the next OC is going to be very critical to put this Seahawks team back on track. You know you got a guy that is as good as anybody when it comes to defense, that knows defense. Now who are you going to find to go be that head coach for the offense here? I know that there's some connections that Mike Macdonald has to maybe a guy like T. Martin. I know that Cliff Kingsbury's name's been floated around. We'll go over all those names another day. But this OC hire is going to be almost as important as this head coaching hire was. How would you grade the hiring of Mike Macdonald by the Seattle Seahawks? I give it an A. I give Schneider credit for not taking the easy route, for going with the up-and-coming coach that's got a lot of momentum. And the Washington Commanders were highly interested in Mike Macdonald. You got to him before Washington did. You didn't let the commies come in and take your coach. That's a win for me. I'm grading this an A. Get your grades in the comment section. Let us know what you think. For the latest happenings in your Seattle Seahawks, we got you covered each and every day here on Seahawks Today. The Mike Macdonald era begins, and we're not going anywhere. Subscribe now. Lock us into Seahawks Today, and we'll see you next time.